Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Hello, my fellow hoop heads, and welcome to One and Done, your fast break for college basketball information powered by drroto.com. My name is Chris, a.k.a. Nate C. Hustle, and I'm here to wrangle in two of the best in the business in college basketball and bring you the best news and content during this offseason. First, our Baron of Bread. You can find him on X at FantasyNav. Mr. Eric Romoff. How you doing, big dog?
Man, we're living good. We're sweating the Game 7 finish there between Minnesota and Denver. Looks like we're gonna have the Timberwolves heading to the Western Conference Finals. So should be a fun one to watch. And there are plenty of some of our favorite college basketball players of yesteryear still making their way up and down the court in the NBA. So was enjoying the rest of that game. Now ready to dive right back into another very busy and jam-packed show.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's why we love doing these shows, because we can talk about these players now and then look at them in the future and just do so well, right? Like that's part of the reason I love doing this, right? But bearing the lead here, and of course, it wouldn't be a one and done show without our captain of the Green Screens media ship. You can find him on X at MCHolland34, Mr. Mike Holland. What's up, brother?
Well, yo, what it do, my friend? I am looking forward to what we got going on middle of this week, my friends. It's not transfer portal talk. It is going to be some head coaching talk, as we are going to have our first head coach join us this offseason, and that is going to be Seattle U head coach Chris Victor. So he's going to stop by the One and Done show. We're going to ask him about his program and just get some insight into how he's been doing. And yeah, they've been cooking up 20-plus win season since he's been there, so I'm excited, looking forward to doing that. So check that out. We should have that out probably Wednesday or Thursday for you guys. So
newly minted team there in the conference too. New member of the WCC.
Yeah,
so they'll
realignment. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they'll start playing the following year. But he'll finish out his last year in the WAC, and we'll talk to him about all of it.
Exactly. And make sure you catch that interview, and make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. We are sitting at 1,078 subscriptions right now. Let's get to 1,080. Just two. This is your first time watching us. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you know when we are coming on. We are coming on 2-3 times a week during this entire offseason. We're going to have coaching interviews, hopefully some player interviews. We're going to find some great interviews out there, and we're always going to bring you the best content out of anybody else during this offseason. So let's hit some of these comments that have come in. We have Patrick Hart coming in, going to be Celtics versus Timberwolves in the finals. He's calling his shot, boys.
Well, I mean, the Celtics have a bye week, so they'll be in the finals. And then, Wolves and Mavericks going to be a great series.
That tracks.
Absolutely. We got Dallas H coming in saying WPS, woo, Pig Suey.
Big Suey.
There we go. We got some Arkansas fans in there. Peanut Butter coming in with, what are those? Ants?
Ants, I guess.
Those are the ants go marching.
Maybe ants go marching. Let's go.
Right?
Jeez.
It's always something with these guys. Let's go. Keep those comments coming. If this is your first time or your 100th time and you've never commented, get in those comments. We will flash them up on the screen. We will comment back to you. If you have any questions, let us know. But let's get into some of these headlines, boys. Vanderbilt lands veteran point guard A.J. Hoggard. Coach Byington has built a very solid backcourt in year one. Mike, can Vandy compete in a tough, expanded SEC? There's a lot of talent in the SEC now. Can they compete in this tough SEC with this addition?
And we have AJ Hoggard at number 44 on our big board, the guard from Michigan State. Last year, an okay year, 29 minutes a game, played 35 games, 11 points, 3 boards, 5 assists, steal and a half. So this guy catches a lot of crap, but he's an experienced point guard. That's something Vanderbilt, you want talented players, especially a guy like this with a ton of games under his belt. He's very good in the pick and roll. Like, he's improved his outside shot. He's not a great outside shooter, but he's got a decent outside shot. Solid defender, solid rebounder for, his position. So when I look at it from like a scheme perspective, like, this fits pretty good. Byington, he has a lot of success with, some of these pick and roll guards. So I think this is an interesting fit. We were joking around like AJ Hoggard to Vanderbilt, kind of interesting. He's definitely going to be your starting point guard. So now they have Hoggard, Jason Edwards from North Texas, Grant Huffman from Davidson, Chris Mannon's coming over from Cornell, really good shooter. MJ Collins, a lot of people forget he's on the roster. So as all these options in their backcourt, like, that's a lot of versatility. I definitely think they could be competitive, at least from a backcourt perspective, but I do worry about their front court in a tough SEC.
Yeah, man. I agree. Their front court has some question marks, right? But the SEC is not a conference that you want question marks in your front court, right? It's going to be tough. But I want to jump to this comment that Peanut Butter Posse put in there. There's that point guard Pope could have had. Yeah. Do you agree, Mike?
Yes, just because I think a true point guard is what is missing from Kentucky. But I think if they'd have gotten Davon Smith, Kentucky would be a top 10 team. So, I don't know, Peanut Butter Posse, man. Thanks for the comment there. Hey, look who else is in the chat here, Chris.
We got Mr. Jay Heinrich, Dr. William Cannon himself. Follow him on X. He is definitely going to follow you back. So definitely hit him up on X. Jay Heinrich coming in with those fire emojis. So keep getting those comments coming, boys and gals out there. Well, let's go ahead and move on to former Longhorn, one of Mike's old guys, not current guys, but old guys, Dylan Mitchell choosing Cincinnati. This was a surprise. We had him pegged for Miami, Auburn, St. John's as his favorites. Eric, I'm going to jump to you. Tell us what the Bearcats are getting and what kind of role he's going to have over there.
Yeah, they are getting the number 79th ranked player on Mike's big board, 6'8", 205. Last year for the Longhorns, he played 34 games, played about 30 minutes per game, chipped in 10 points and 7.5 rebounds, right? So this is a guy that was a former consensus 5-star, top 5 type of prospect just a few short years ago. And he never really found that rhythm, right? He never found that big time success at Texas in this Longhorn system. So a guy that we like to joke about went to the draft combine a few years ago and found his 3-point shot. And then Coach Terry just left that 3-point shot at the draft combine. Didn't really get a chance to show that off during his tenure as a Longhorn. But now that he's heading over to Cincinnati, like you're getting one of the most athletic players in the game, a guy that's got apparently some upside if he starts shooting from range a little bit more. Defensively, an absolute game changer, right? Like the offensive game is unlocked. If everything goes right, like Cincinnati could be sitting on an absolute lottery ticket, right? And you talk about this fit, like it feels like he's immediately part of this starting rotation at the 4, right? Like, the front court of Mitchell and Bandago out there, like probably one of the better defensive front lines in the country. So Cincinnati, quietly had a really solid offseason. And, they go out and they bring in a guy like Mitchell to kind of be the icing on the cake to go with, Connor Hickman from Bradley. Like there are just so many different pieces they added to this roster. Like, this team, they're ready for the future of the Big 12, right? There's a lot of question marks about what this conference is going to be, who it's going to go through. And it feels like the Bearcats have really loaded up and put themselves in a good position to make a statement very early in the new look Big 12.
Yeah, man. It feels like the Big 12 is going to have 10 teams in, kind of like last year, right? Like Cincinnati, they can't be forgotten in this race with this pickup, right? I mean, Big 12 is going to be another top conference this year, of course, right? I mean, even with the two teams leaving, they got other teams coming in it, just like Arizona State. But we'll talk about that later. Let's get to
maybe not
the comments. Shut up. Let's get to the comments here. We got Kirk Kriisa for point guard number 1. The Jay coming in, saying that Dallas laughing hysterically to that. Babu
and crying.
Babu, first-time commenter, came across your site a couple days ago, and first comment. As a Louisville fan, it's exciting to talk basketball again. Kelsey putting together a squad. Yes,
to say the least.
This is why we are here, Babu, to talk basketball year-round, even during this offseason. Thank you for the comment. Keep them coming. Love it. Dallas coming in. Kerr is dog meat.
Oh gosh.
Good
Dog
Lord.
meat.
Peanut butter coming in. Cincinnati could make the tournament. Yeah, man,
Absolutely.
that's what we're saying. Big 12 could get 10 teams in. I mean, maybe not 10 teams. They'll probably get 7 or 8, but there's a lot of competition there, and yeah, for sure. But let's go ahead and slide on over to the ACC. Speaking of Babu's Louisville Cardinals, they make another front court splash, adding BYU forward Noah Waterman. Now, we've been talking about this one happening soon. Coach Kelsey has legitimately built the Cardinals into a fringe top 25 team. Mike, this ad makes the ninth senior to transfer. So a lot of seniority there. What are your thoughts on this pickup?
Before I get to the thoughts on the pickup, I'm going to go back to your Big 12 comment. I'm going to laugh if they get 8 teams in. It's because they're bringing in Pac-12 because they got 9 in last year and they're getting Arizona. So they're going to get 10 in. So unless Arizona State and
Arizona is beautiful.
That'll be 10. But you never know.
Futures on ASU getting in. I'm telling you that right now.
Exactly. Those will pay out pretty decently. But yeah, Noah Waterman. We got to get to Babu here. 120th on our transfer big board. I mean, he's a pure shooter. A lot of size there at 6'11". I mean, he's not going to wow you with his athleticism or anything like that, or his rebounding or his defense, or really anything outside of his shooting. But he's obviously serviceable in those areas where he's great in. We talked about the other day, his transition shooting. Obviously a floor spacer for you, and with Khalifa redshirting, I mean, they had to have another big to go along with Pryor. So I love this Louisville roster. I feel like they're knocking on the door with North Carolina and Duke in the ACC. We mentioned all the names last time: Rain Smith, Terrence Edwards, Javon Hadley, Chucky Hepburn, Corin Johnson. Now you have Waterman and Pryor in the front court. I mean, we set the bar last show at 15, 16 wins. So I'm thinking firmly we're looking at 17 to 18 plus wins as the over under. So it would be quite a turnaround into year one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm putting Louisville, third in the ACC. I mean, but that's on paper, right? I mean, we still don't know how all these guys are going to fit. So
that's a big question.
Yeah, that's the biggest question in all these transfers, right? We got to see how they fit, right? I do want to jump to the comment that Jay just threw in here, Mike. He's throwing you under the bus. Kriisa is Mike's guy.
It says the guy that says Kirk Kriisa PG1. Yeah. Let Peanut Butter Fox. Big 12 is now the Big 20. Yeah, I don't know. So Big 12 had 14. You take away 2, that's 12. But then you add, I think they're adding 3, Arizona State, and Colorado. I don't know. It gets all confusing and messy. Yeah. Peanut Butter Posse jumping and said Waterman started for BYU. Now Pope can't get him as the 10th man. Hopefully a good sign.
Slightly different game at Kentucky, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're recruiting different players, right? Like Kentucky's focused on some of the guys we're going to talk about later on where are they going.
Exactly. There you go. Well, before we get there, let's go ahead and slide over to the SEC to talk about a team that's been pretty quiet this offseason. Let's go into Auburn. They bring in forward Jaheim Hudson to shore up that front line. Not the guy that Auburn fans thought they were going to be getting at the beginning of the season, right? Or offseason, I'm sorry. They were in on Mitchell, Lachur, and a couple others. But, Eric, you really like this Hudson character. You like his game, right?
Yeah, he's coming over from SMU, right? The 6'7", 220-pound forward. Last year he didn't exactly set the world on fire. He wasn't playing a ton of minutes, right? He played about 15 minutes across 31 games, gave 5.5 points and 3.5 boards. But this is a guy that he's doing a lot with the limited run that he's getting, right? You kind of extrapolate that out in terms of scoring per minute, rebounds per minute, and a world where he's pushing close to high 20s, maybe even 30 minutes, even though Bruce Pearl doesn't give that to anybody. You can kind of track those numbers along, right? So the previous year, not this past one, but the one prior, he was a 10 and 8 guy in 27 minutes. So there's no real reason to think that he can't reach back into his bag and get to that type of production. And he's going into this Auburn system where they rotate a bunch of guys. We like to poke fun at Coach Pearl. But if nothing else, he feels like he's one of these guys that can kind of be a spark plug for them, right? Plays with a ton of energy. We know that fits perfectly with Coach Pearl's style, right? So to your point, at the off the top here, Nate, not exactly the flashiest name out there, but I think he's going to be super serviceable and a guy that if everything kind of lines up right for him, can potentially move the needle for Auburn this season.
Yeah, exactly, right. It's not always the big names that get it done in March. I mean, you need these guys that can play the role and play it well. And Hudson, he's going to be a nice piece in Auburn's rotation, right? So I'm really excited to see what happens there for sure. Now, our final headline talks about a topic that was brought up at the end of last show. Who is the best mid-major roster? I'm going to jump this one in. Grand Canyon. They lose the former WAC preseason player of the year, but they gain St. John's transfer Glenn Taylor. We're about to hit another episode of the Mid-Major Minute, but we wanted to talk about just how good of a get this is for the surging Antelope program. Mike, I'm going to jump to you. Is Grand Canyon the best mid-major roster this offseason?
I will say it is. Look, I know the announcement, everyone was pretty hyped at first when Blackshear said that he was coming back, but obviously he's headed out. And I think really there weren't any numbers there for him to come back. Had to fight to get that waiver there. And you get Glenn Taylor, this is a stretch guy, stretch 3 or 4 man, can really defend, started a few games for St. John's, and the previous year was over at Oregon State. So you look at what they've done this offseason, the Antelope. I mean, Jacoby Coles, really like his game from TCU. Mekhi Williams, awesome freshman out of UT Arlington. You get Dennis Evans, who was a 5-star prospect this time last offseason from Louisville. So what they're getting back is even more impressive, right? Ray Harrison, Colin Moore, Loke Ward, Duke Brennan. We were talking about those guys as they won a game in the tournament last year. So they are absolutely going to be a problem again. You got Cam jumping in here. McNeese State wants a word. Eric, Are you with me with Grand Canyon, or you got another team maybe who Cam is rocking?
I mean, when we were asked this question in the live chat last time out, I said I get to take the easy one, McNeese State. No shade to Grand Canyon. They're putting together a phenomenal offseason, but Coach Wade and McNeese State is out here just putting on an absolute clinic, right? They do a really good job of retaining some of their key players from last year, right? You got Garcia, you got Shumate, you got Saunders, but then just a bevy of talent coming into this roster, right? You got Sincere Parker, you've got Bryant Celebange, Brandon Murray, Kadir Copeland, Jerome Brewer, Joe Charles, right? And these are guys that, have played in the mid-major ranks and done very well. These are guys that have played in the high majors before, right? So you put all this together, a legitimate embarrassment of riches for Will Wade and for these McNeese State Cowboys. So definitely have to give them flowers, but also UC Santa Barbara's having a real nice offseason over in the Big West, right? High Point, Weber State, Arkansas State, St. Louis, Vermont. This is the epitome of the portal season, right? This is the portal era in college basketball where these rosters can go out and they can plug the exact holes that they need. And, that's not limited to the high majors. These mid-major programs are going out there and really making the most of their player acquisitions this offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why you stay locked into us, right? We cover everybody, all 350 plus teams.
You.
Hit those like and subscribe buttons so you get all the information for all teams. So you know once we get into those DFS seasons, you know how to watch. But one thing I want to ask the chat, I know we got a couple comments in there, but I want to ask the chat right now, who do you think has the better roster, Grand Canyon or McNeese State? Let us know in those comments. Speaking of those comments, let's get into those. We have Cam coming in. Would love to see
Cam's
McNeese
ready
State
to
and
settle it.
GCU play neutral site game. That would be interesting. Yeah, exactly. But
Hey, Johnny K's back. Johnny K's
back. Let's go. Good spot for Glenn Taylor Jr. He'll excel there.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
Is WCC no longer a mid-major? We don't here on the One and Done show. We don't consider teams that get multi-bids. And I mean, come on, you've got two of the 5 winningest programs in the last 25 years in that conference. They are not a mid-major conference. Like, I get it, right? It's fun, especially when they're bringing in Seattle, who we're going to talk to Coach Chris Victor middle of the week, which looking forward to that. And obviously bringing in Grand Canyon. We'll see if Gonzaga bolts for the Big 12, but St. Mary's is there, out San Francisco. I mean, the WCC is no longer a mid-major, at least by one and done standards for sure.
And the one and done standard is the gold standard.
Something like that.
But thanks for the comments, guys. Let us know in those comments who you think has a better roster, Grand Canyon or McNeese State. While you guys are doing that, we are going to go into, as promised, Mike is going to jump in with his mid-major minutes.
I always love that beat on that one. Ooh, get the solo. Ooh, get the graphics too. All right, let's jump into this thing. So we have a top 500 big board. We know that's only like 25% of the Division I players that are available. Here at the One and Done show, we like to talk about all 362 teams. Just want to quickly shine a light on some of the guys that didn't make the top 500 big board, but I think are going to be important pieces and play a role for these teams here to maybe make a run here and then get into March and see if they can do some things. So the first one here is Ali Abdu-Diba. He's a guard from Abilene Christian, so not too far from where we are. 6'4", 185. He commits to Southern Illinois. 15.5 points, 35% from three. The top 6 scorers are gone for Southern Illinois, including stud guard Xavier Johnson. We loved talking about him last year. So bringing in Diba, this is one that will help obviously keep the Salukis competitive in the Missouri Valley. Second guy on the list here is Michael Imaragbe, the forward from Houston Christian, also not too far from here. 6'7", 215. He commits over to Wright State, 11.5 points per game, 8.5 rebounds. 2 of the big 3 are gone from Wright State. That was Trey Calvin, Tanner Holden. So you're bringing this kid in, it gives him some punch inside on the glass with star Brandon Noel. The next cat is actually leaving Wright State. That's A.J. Braun, the big man, 6'9", 225. He's going over to Cal Baptist. Average 12 points, 6 boards. The Lancers, they get their 2 leading scorers back, but they're both guards. So you need a big man here. And Braun's a quality add to their front court. They lost Ivan Adrago this offseason. He should be able to replicate the 10 and 8 that Adrago posted, along with bringing experience as a senior. So like A.J. Braun is a fit there. Derek Butler, the guard from Central Michigan, he's 6'2", 195. He commits to Bowling Green. Averaged nearly 11 points, shot 42% from 3. You love that. Bowling Green's actually returning a lot. Now they are losing their star leading scorer, Marcus Hill, to North Carolina State. So Butler's a guy that can come in immediately and help fill some of that scoring punch. But I think they're going to do it more by committee this coming year. So look out for Bowling Green. Last one on the list here, Josiah Davis, the guard from Tennessee Tech. He's 6'3", 195. He's committed to Niagara, averaged 13 points, just over 2 assists. He exploded his sophomore year. There's a ton of turnover on this roster for Niagara. Adding this kid here can really assure that they'll get some buckets next year. So looking forward to see what he can offer them heading into next year. And that right there is the Mid-Major Minute. Here we go.
Oh, there it is.
So Pepperdine went to the Final Four, no big deal. Well, Vanderbilt went to the Final Four, no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
I'd say it's a big deal.
That's a pretty big deal.
Right. So the same thing. Like, just because you're going to have the teams at the, like, yeah, I agree with Johnny K. The LMU is definitely interesting. Ryan Amy coming in. Jan Vade is coming. There's talks that Phil Deal's also coming from UCLA. I like Loyola Marymount a lot. This is going to be a very, very strong WCC this year.
Seriously.
We talked to a lot of their coaches last year. So, I think Grand Canyon has slightly better roster, but if they played, I'd never bet against Will Wade. Yeah.
Babu, our new commenter coming in here. I think
Babu.
Grand Canyon has a slightly better roster, but if they played, I'd never bet against Wade.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So looking forward to those matchups coming in the future.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the comments, y'all. Keep them coming. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit those notification bells so you know when we're coming on all off season. We will be here. Man, it's been a minute since we've had a mid-major minute. I freaking love these. Yeah, y'all caught that. I freaking love these. Yeah, I love these. I love the mid-major minute for sure. But now we're going to go ahead and bring back another edition of Where Are They Going? We did this the other day with 8 guys remaining in the top 50. 3 of them made their decisions. They found their destination, right? Let's start with a quick update on those 5 that haven't. Eric, I'm going to start with you. What's the update on Hawkins, Toppin, Lanier, Watkins, and Wells?
Yeah, those are the 5 of the 8 that have yet to announce their destination. With Coleman Hawkins, the number 5 player on our big board. Looks like the NBA is probably the most likely destination for him after a very strong combine, right? JT Toppin, probably a bit more of a coin flip between the NBA and what is presumed to be the Fightin' Texas Longhorns. So would be a nice splash for the Longhorns, but also he's ranked number 10 for a reason. Definitely has some interest from the association. Number 29, Chaz Lanier. We talk about him all the time as we have morphed into a Kentucky program. He's got 3 visits set up. It looks like it's going to be a 3-horse race between the aforementioned Kentucky Wildcats as well as a homecoming to Tennessee, or potentially taking a look at BYU. So still 3 options on the table for him. Watkins is rumored to be having a pretty good combine himself. So he's probably 50-50 for the NBA right now. And if it doesn't end up being the association, doesn't really have a list that he's published quite yet. So it seems like he might have his eye on the pro rank. And then closing us out here, number 45, Jalen Wells, had kind of an okay combine, right? So, similar boat overall to Watkins, coin flip to go to the association. If he comes back, he hasn't published a list yet, but maybe not quite as much steam behind his professional case as there is with Jamir Watkins. So those are the 5 that we were updating from a few shows ago.
Absolutely. Cam coming in saying, sorry for cussing, Sketch Boys. Yeah, it's a live show. So, sorry.
What if he gets punched?
Yeah, it happens. Well, thank you, Eric. We have 6 others inside our top 100 to make decisions. Let's break those down for you guys right now. Mike, let's start with number 66 on our big board.
Yeah, it's Wooga Poplar, name and game here. Guard from Miami, 6'5", 190. 13 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 38% from 3. Now we got the crystal balls here as Villanova and Oregon. We know that he recently took a visit to Villanova. The Oregon visit should be happening soon. Feels like Kentucky and others could get involved depending on kind of what happens with some of these other guys like Jackson Robinson, Chaz Lanier. So, if I had to call it today, I would say hometown cooking wins out as a kid from Philly here. So I'll go with Villanova. The aforementioned Jackson Robinson, Eric, is the next guy on our list at number 91. What you got?
Yeah, number 91, the at least former wing for BYU, checking in 6'7" and 190. He's got a little bit more on his plate in terms of suitors. He is testing the NBA waters as well as talking to Arkansas, Kansas, and Kentucky. This is following a 33-game campaign where he chipped in 14 points, 2.5 boards, and shot right at the Heinrich line of 35% from range. In terms of his NBA prospects, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of buzz around him. So seems like he's more likely than not to make his way back to the college ranks. Kansas is kind of picking up steam. It feels like they're sort of coming out of nowhere, right? We hadn't heard much buzz, much association with Jackson's name and the Kansas Jayhawks, but now they're firmly on the radar. And obviously, you just can't count out Coach Mark Pope, his former BYU coach, going for the reunited story at Kentucky. So, yeah, if we're putting it in mathematical terms, probably 70-30 that he returns. I mean, I guess strictly mathematical terms, 75-25, right? We got 3 college options here in the crystal balls. And look, it might be kind of a hot take, but with Kansas kind of popping up out of nowhere and seemingly has some steam behind it, I think the rumors might hold a little bit of water. I'll say he goes to Kansas.
Ooh, if Kansas gets Robinson, look out. Right? Look out. All right, let's jump into some of these comments that came through. Johnny K coming in. My Johnnies could use Watkins.
Johnny, you've been begging for a wing for a 3-4 man for
gonna make it happen
last month, man. So hopefully you had to wait on the Richmond and Davon Smith news. So hopefully Johnny K can finish it out with the 3-4 man that he's been really wanting to get. And Peanut Butter Posse saying Lanier's just going slow because Jackson Robinson. I'm pretty sure it's up to Kentucky. Yeah, absolutely. Patrick, stick around. We got some little tidbits on Cameron Christie, so appreciate that. But loving all these comments that are coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris. Peanut Butter coming in. Any theories on why Pope can't get anybody from BYU?
I don't know that he had necessarily that these are priorities to get these guys from BYU. Like, you're on a whole different playing ground, right? Like, who are you trading from the current roster to go? Like, Noah Waterman, he's a good player, but he's not this great game change. He's a shooter. He's going to spread the floor. It's like Luke Goody going to Indiana. It's
I might be projecting here a little bit, right? But you also have to think that Coach Pope feels pretty good about having several of these former BYU players kind of in his back pocket, right? If they miss out on someone, he can kind of break that glass and call in the favor and pick up the phone with a guy that he's played with before, right? So, I'm not saying that he's necessarily kind of deprioritizing them, right? But when you feel confident in your relationship with a player, you can go out and expend that energy on some of the more kind of wild cards, bigger swings, knowing that you've got that guy around should you need to pick up the phone.
Yeah, for sure. Peanut Butter coming in. You'd think he'd want a couple guys to help implement the system. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
theory. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
But he gets paid big bucks to figure out the roster that he recruited to come over to Kentucky, which I think on paper is far more talented than what he had at BYU. Now, whether or not this thing fits is going to be an entirely different thing.
Yeah, he has a better player pool going to Kentucky than he did at BYU for sure.
Exactly.
Johnny K, we really need a power forward or PF power forward, but definitely wouldn't complain with Watkins. We're still waiting on Ivy Guy's outcome. Ledlam and Dingle.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to happen. I really don't. They played their time. I get the Ivy League didn't play during COVID. They were just nah, we're good. So yeah, I mean, looking at the roster spots, it doesn't look like. I think Patino did it right. He was look, guys, jump in the portal. You can always withdraw, but I don't want to. I'm gonna recruit as if you guys aren't gonna get a waiver. If you do get a waiver and I have a spot, come on back. If you don't, at least you're in the portal and you'll get recruited by somebody. There's 362 teams. Somebody's gonna grab you. But awesome comments. Appreciate it. Keep them coming, guys.
Keep them coming. Mike, let's go ahead and move on to number 93. Who we got?
Yeah, 93 is an interesting one. TJ Wagner, the guard from Kentucky, 6'4", 190. What's happening here? I don't know what's happening. Rumors that he's an Arkansas silent commit, and that this thing was supposed to drop sometime this weekend or just anytime. And it just hasn't happened over the last week or so. We know he's a former 5-star, up and down year last year. Love his NBA upside. We just don't really know what's happening, which is why we have the big question mark right next to his name for Truly Donovan's Discord. He's gone dark. So this is weird, right? So I guess Arkansas fans now, you're probably just kind of playing the waiting game and probably getting a little nervous. what happens if somebody drops a bag out of nowhere? And that we've seen that a few times this offseason for sure. So yeah, DJ Wagner, definitely an interesting case. Let us know. Let us know what you guys think in the comments about how this whole thing has played out. We'll slide over to a guy that, man, like we're getting to these guys where it's like kind of like NBA or we don't know what the hell's going on. So number 94 here, who you got, Eric?
Yeah, Arthur Kaluma, the former K-State Wildcat, like you said, number 94 on the big board, checks in at 6'7", 225 pounds last year for K-State. He played 33 games, about 35 minutes per game, 14.5 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, and just south of the Heinrich line, 34% from distance. And kind of like you said, Mike, like another one of these guys where it feels like it's kind of NBA or bust, right? Maybe because according to Jay Heinrich, this is the worst draft class in the history of the association. So some guys that feel like they might have kind of a fringe case to go to the league are probably more inclined to try to force that issue over the course of this offseason, right? So, you kind of take that context of the draft class outside of it and just looking at his game, right? Like, he's got the athleticism that you're looking for. He's not quite at that level as a shooter yet, right? So, there are rumors that if he returns to college, that a return to K-State isn't entirely off the table, right? So maybe I shouldn't have said former K-State Wildcat quite yet. If he does come back and stay in the portal, all the names that we find ourselves talking about all the time are probably going to be pretty interested, right? Arkansas is probably going to look him up. Some of the other heavy hitters that still have a good amount of money to spend. But as we sit right now, number 94, Arthur Kaluma, looks like his priority would be the NBA. We'll see if the NBA feels the same way about him.
Yeah, I love the comment coming in here. Well, we got a flurry of comments just kind of rolling through here. Got the thumbs down from Peanut Butter Posse. We expect that from him once a show. I'm assuming that's in regards to Wagner. Patrick Hart asking about Ben Allen Lubin and Cedric Coward. Well, Ben Allen Lubin, like, pretty interesting. I really like him. We were talking to Cam the other day in the chat. Just UNC has that 5 spot. I still think Jalen Washington will be pretty good there, but, that's a spot. Ben Allen Lubin could possibly end up in North Carolina. Or I know who could use him is his former team, Vanderbilt. We just talked about their front court. If you were to go back, it at least makes Vanderbilt a lot more interesting in that front court for sure. Babu coming through saying Johnny K got the best backcourt. And then the Wagner question is interesting. Can he just go to the draft, go to the G League without entering the draft? I don't know. That is, I don't actually know that.
Right?
I guess in theory they could sign, probably just sign with the G League, right?
Just like you would,
and then re-enter the draft the next year. I mean, that's kind of what kids in high school,
exactly.
They don't go to the college game. They sign with the G League and they're in the draft the following year. So absolutely here. Maurice Bastian. This is a great question. I think he's a new commenter. So appreciate you joining us, Maurice Bastian. Is there a chance that Supreme Cook returns? There is a massive chance that Supreme Cook, because if you follow the tea leaves and everything that's being said, Georgetown didn't spend all their money and they are prepared to offer a lot of money to him. So if they're not able to land, anybody else that they have prioritized over him, he's probably going to wait it out because he's probably going to secure a lot of that money that was going to be allocated to other guys in the offseason for sure. So, yeah, I think there's a very good chance that Supreme Cook ends back up at Georgetown.
Absolutely. Mike, you want to get us in with number 95 there?
Number 95 here is going to be Udano Onyenso, the center from Kentucky. Feels like all these Kentucky guys still still waiting on decisions here, man.
Look at all these crystal balls, my G.
Yeah, my G tipped in and dropped all these names the other day. It's like NBA, Bama, Louisville, Mississippi State, North Carolina, Oklahoma. It feels like this one's swinging back towards
not talking to.
Swinging back to the college route, I think, is where this one's headed. But it's going to be highly coveted, one of the best rim protectors in the country for sure. In 19 minutes, almost 3 blocks a game. Like, you'll take that. And not much of an offensive game, but North Carolina, once again, has that glaring spot. I say glaring, like I think they're okay at that spot, but that 5 spot is definitely open for business. And I'm not going to count out Oklahoma, even though they got Muhammad Wag there. So, Louisville's got a spot open. I wouldn't put anything past Kelsey at this point, but it just feels like North Carolina makes a ton of sense here. So, Onyenso, I gotta watch out for, and has a lot of options, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I like North Carolina here as well, for sure. Let's see, Eric. Let's talk about Patrick Hart's question here. Any news on Cameron Christie? You got him next here. Let's wrap it up with Cam Christie here.
Yeah, Cam Christie, dramatically fewer crystal balls in front of him here. The NBA draft or an open question coming in from Minnesota last year, the 6'6", 190 wing, played 33 games, about 30 minutes per game, 11.5 points, 3.5 boards, a little better than 2 assists, but 39% from distance. And that's really the story here, right? Like, reporting out of the NBA Combine is that he has really impressed with his outside shooting. He brought that wet jump shot out to the Combine, and now he's getting a little bit more attention than maybe even he anticipated throughout the course of this process. He will have up until May 29th to make his decision. I will say, like, his long-term NBA upside will be enough for someone to to potentially give him an assurance here, right? But by the small chance that he comes back, there will be a very long line of suitors, right? There's teams that still have a ton of money. Everyone's looking for outside shooting, right? Like, if he's coming back to college, Cam Christie could plug back in to a number of different systems. But yeah, I mean, if he's bringing the J like that to the Combine, he's probably getting a lot of attention from those pro scouts. And my money would be him probably sticking in the draft and seeing where he ends up.
There you go. Perfect. Well, let's jump back into these comments here. Cam coming in, Johnny K. Sorry, Abu. Still need one more front court piece. Responding over to Babu's comment before about having one of the best backcourts in the country. Cam coming in. If Bama somehow gets him, I believe he was talking about.
That was about Onyenso.
Onyenso, yeah.
Yeah, that would be
that Twin Tower setup.
And Peanut Butter coming in. Calipari made them all forget their own names.
My goodness! Always with the last one there.
Always with the zingers, man. I'm telling you.
Love it.
Well, guys, I appreciate all the comments. Make sure you go out there, like and subscribe, hit those notification bells. We're going to be here all summer through the off season, 2-3 times a week. We're going to have all these coaches come on. We're going to have some players come on, hopefully. Speaking of coaches, Seattle U head coach Chris Victor is going to stop by and chat with us this week. So make sure you hit those notification bells so you know when that's coming. We'll probably put some tweets out there. So make sure you like and follow us on Twitter at One and Done CBB. Should be coming up on the bottom here in a second. One and Done CBB. We're at Get Green Screens on TikTok. Get out there, like and subscribe. Until next time, let's get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.